Welcome to another interesting and inspiring episode of Love and Marriage with Seyi, where we celebrate thriving marriages and sow success seeds and wisdom nuggets for growth. Thank you for being here with us today. Today we're talking with a couple who've been married 35 years and counting. They met as casual friends on the college campus, a deep friendship ensued, and the rest, as they say, is history. Join me and make welcome Dr. Ade and Mrs. Joko Aderibigbe. But it's a beautiful journey. It's been on for 35 years and counting, wow, which is a lifetime. So tell me, how did this journey get started? How did you guys meet?
Well, Joko is a better storyteller than I am, so I'll let her start off.
So we've been married 35 years, and I love to tell the story of how we met. We met in college, University of Ife. We were both in the Faculty of Health Sciences. And so I was starting my third year, and I was standing at the entrance of the building, and I was looking at a notice board. It's like the ones covered with glass and it's locked because pictures were displayed in there. So someone had invited me to a club dinner, and I was looking at my pictures in the
photo box.
Right. So then someone started walking towards me. I was just by myself, and he was by himself. And he said, "Hello, Joko." So I looked around and okay. I didn't say that, but I looked at him. Okay, someone who knows my name. I probably know him, but I couldn't recall who he was. So I asked him, "What's your name?" He said, "Who again?" And I was still puzzled. I'm like, "Oh, never heard your name." "Okay, so what's your last name?" He told me his last name. I'm like, "Okay, it's that." Then he said something about my younger brother. I'm like, "Okay, you know my brother too? How did you know?"
Well, we have to have all the information, all the tools in our quiver when we're going on a mission, right? Seyi. So I knew all that, and I'd been seeing her around campus, soft-spoken, quiet. Those are the things that got me attracted to her in the first place. So I just, summoned courage. As we used to say then, I toasted her, just talked to her, got her room number, I think.
He didn't say much.
I didn't say much, but
he just said,
the little I said stuck a chord in her heart.
No, that's not true. Huh? What happened was after I looked at him and I didn't recognize his first name or last name, the next thing he asked, "What's your room number?" And I said, I gave him my room number.
Of course.
Room H. I didn't know anything. Someone asked me a question, I answered them.
Of course.
That's it. So the evening he started, every evening he will come to my room. Okay, so why is this person here? Okay, beginning of year, fresh semester. And he would just come to my room every evening after classes. So, well, I have a guest. Of course, I've had other people visiting me as well. So I would just entertain them. They sit. Whoever gets tired of sitting would leave.
And yeah, there were other people coming to visit, and I just told her, I said,
Other young guys.
Young guys. And I just told her, I said, these guys, you have to send everybody packing because I'm on a mission. Yeah.
Embellishment.
So, and of course, she understood that. She understood I was serious. And I'm sure, I don't know what did it for you, but as they say, the rest is history, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody would sit, and whoever got tired of sitting would leave. So that means you know who sat the longest. At one point, okay, so I have all these guests. I'll leave them all in my room. I'll go to the butchery to buy like plantain chips, chin snacks, and Fanta and bring it to them. Okay, here, you guests, you can have some drinks. So while I was gone, I guess they had to entertain themselves.
I think it's true what she said in the beginning, but when these other guys saw me and they knew my intentions, all of a sudden, nobody had to tell them anything. They just took off and disappeared. And it was just me and her. And when she thinks about that singular action, she's so grateful that I was bold enough to declare my intentions, and not in a cocky way, but just a straightforward, nice, right, Joko?
Okay, I'll tell you. He's adding his own humor into it, which is not very. Actually, he likes to embellish his story. So anyway, after he noticed that people just come and sit, he had to find a way to get me out of the room before anybody else joined him. So he said, "Okay, come on, let's get out." We go out of the hostel and just walk around into the Potter's Lodge, like the entrance of the hostel. And we just walk through we call it Iber Valley, where there are small stalls for food. So it's not like we were buying food there, but just walk through, because that area was
just walking around.
Right.
Yeah, we take nice strolls. Yeah.
In between his hostel, Awolowo Hall, and my hostel, Moremi Hall. So,
and that's very romantic, walking around in the evening, huh?
Absolutely.
But let me ask this here. Let me ask a question here, because he said that evidently Sir had done his homework. He knew your name. He knew where he would find you at that time when he found you standing alone. So is this something that you think that, and he actually said he had done his research to where he knew your name before coming to you.
And my brother's name.
And your brother's name. So how did that make you feel? The fact that he knew your name, called you by name, as against saying, "Hey, beautiful."
I was puzzled. I just wasn't sure how he knew my name.
How long had you been interested in her before you approached her like that?
That's a good question. It wasn't very long, probably a few weeks, because you don't want to leave it too long, because if you leave it too long, some other people might have the same idea that you have, and you might be, slow to the draw, as it's, but not very long.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. So now, ma'am, do you give everybody that asks for your number your number?
I'm not sure too many people ask for my number. It was, to me, it was just a question. Someone asked me and I gave it to them. I didn't put any thought to it. And so once he had the room number, he left. I'm like, okay, that's it. I didn't know anything else until he started showing up. Even the first few visits, I was like, okay, so this person is here visiting me. Well, yeah, okay. Then other people are visiting me. Oh, well, good.
So now, what is it that made him stand out? So he was visiting, other people were visiting as well. What made him stand out to you?
I don't know. I'll call it a natural flow.
She was struck. Let's just say it as it happened. I mean, I don't think she knew it at that time, but looking back, I mean, she knew. Handsome guy, medical student, serious student. No, I'm serious. That's all I can say, really, right?
Medical student didn't mean much that day because I was looking at a picture that even a resident in the faculty had invited me to the dinner. And I still have the picture. So I showed it to him yesterday. Look, this is the beginning of our story. This person took me out on a date. I was looking at his pictures and you walked by.
Oh, wow.
Yes. He had invited me to a club dinner and I went with him. And the pictures were pasted up. And so I stood there looking and he walks by. So just yesterday, I told him, I said, look at this picture. That's the beginning of...
So actually what used to happen then is there are quite a number of social clubs on campus. And sometimes you have a friend, just a friend, inviting you to go. Nothing, no deep...
okay. I see what you're saying.
Or girlfriend or anything like that. You already know that person. And that happens quite a lot. Both for men and for women. So I think that was actually...
That's what it was.
Her situation, yeah. Absolutely.
Let me ask you, what do you consider, or when should someone assume they're seriously dating? Speaking to our love and marriage hopefuls, our young ladies, our young men, when should they consider, I'm seriously dating this person now, or we're in a serious relationship?
Sometimes there are no clear lines. There are no specific dates that, we started dating on a certain day of the year or of the month. I don't have any of those dates, but it was just like visiting.
Yeah, I just think, one thing led to another. We became friends. And then, you get to know her likes and my likes, and then things just start getting more serious. I think that's what happened in our situation. We're very simple. Everything just blended. It wasn't, like she said, it wasn't like a critical point or someday that we had a meeting, a meeting of minds saying, okay, today is Saturday, the 11th of, this and that. I think it just became gradually serious, and then it became mutual. It wasn't, in the beginning, I was the one going to visit her. And then once she kind of liked my friendship, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And then, like we said, it was close to the end of the year. I remember we went on vacation, and that first vacation, after we had been together for a few weeks, was very hard for me, and I couldn't wait. Of course, we didn't have cell phones at that time. So you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And the day we came back to campus, I saw her. I brought her all those gifts.
Yes.
That I had been.
He brought me a nice Christmas cake, a big size.
Aww.
And sometimes I can still taste that cake. And he brought me several other little gifts, like a keychain, and I still have that keychain. And he gave me a calculator, small, like a sunlight activated calculator. I still have that. I showed them to my kid.
We live in an era when we think of our young folks now. I've come across people who have been together for a minute. One of them thought they were dating for a destination, and the other thought we're just really good friends. So let me ask you, your story. Did you at any point ask, can you be my girlfriend? Or, I want to be serious with you. Did you ask that question?
I can answer that question. So after coming to visit several times, I don't have a count now, but I walked into the entrance of we call it Potter's Lodge in the front. And he just stood there and he said, do you know that I'm going to marry you?
Oh, wow.
So what do I say? What's an answer? I'm like, I didn't know that.
Well, he did marry you.
That's news to me. So I didn't resist or anything. I just said, I didn't know how to respond.
She was swept off her feet. I really said that. And I don't know how long we had been friends then, but at that point in time, I was just like, let me just come out to her, make my intentions known, know that it's her and nobody else. So that was what that was about. When I said, do you know I'm going to marry you? I mean, I didn't even think about, geez, how about if she says no? I didn't even think of that at all.
You just made your intentions known.
No.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, okay, I didn't know that.
Let me ask you, sir. And so you had known her a little while and you said, I'm going to marry you. So you had made up your mind, this is the person you want to marry. Tell me 2 things about her that made you decide this is the person I want to marry.
The things that attracted me to her was a very just simple nature, pretty girl, very pretty and very soft-spoken. And she looked like a serious student, so you want a balance, just everything I wanted. I didn't have them written down or anything, but when I just saw her, I said, okay. And then as I got to know her more and go out with her, I'm like, gosh, what else am I looking for? This is it. And at that time, we medical students, we had our niches, we had close niches. So I had a bunch of very close friends, and it wasn't like I was seeking their approval of her, but she just blended with all my friends so easily, and it was like, oh, okay, this is great. And then, as they say, the rest is history.
Wow.
And
wow.
When I started visiting him in Awolowo home, he will sit with his friends, maybe a group of 6, 8 of them, and they'll play cards. And I'll just sit with them. I wasn't interested in playing cards, but I would take the scores.
Oh, wow. Wow, you were just a part of the team. You made yourself a part of the team.
Having fun, yes.
Let me ask you a question, sir. So you found the qualities you were looking for in her at the time. Yeah. Tell me again 2 ways that over the years she's just made you keep falling in love with her.
Yeah. Gosh, it's been 30, how many years?
35, but I've known you for like, God knows how many years.
For
81 up till now.
Yeah. What we tell the younger ones, even, for example, my daughter, who began soon, who says, marriage is not a bed of roses. It really isn't. But the things as a young man and as a young woman, the things that attract you, those are good. But what sustains you is usually not, at least in my experience, is not just the physical attributes or the physical characteristics of your spouse. Over time, the things that stand the test of time, for me, are those fruit of the spirit, patience, love. Go on, help me out.
Peace, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, long-suffering.
Yeah, but those things are things we developed as we went along the journey. They were not, nobody was talking of fruit of the spirit when we were getting married or when we were dating. We just were in love. I loved her. I loved being with her. When she's not there, I miss her. But over time, yes, all those attributes still stay there. She's actually gotten prettier and prettier as she's gotten older. So that's not debatable. But the things, the way she is, her attitude, the way she is with your own family, with your siblings, with your parents, it just grows. And we have grown. And we continue to grow. We continue to learn. She tells me all the time that I'm very patient.
Yes.
And sometimes she'll ask me, she says, what exactly is your biggest thing that is meaningful that you want me to be there for yourself? Patient. Just be patient. Because my wife is great, but sometimes she gets trigger happy is what I mean. Sometimes you could be a little jumpy. But again, I'm like, okay, let's take it one step at a time. And then she comes back and says, oh, thank you for being patient with me. So that's if you ask her, she knows. There's no, she doesn't have to think or come back. No, it's very simple over time. So attraction in the beginning, then over time, we mature as individuals, and then we mature together. And then she knows the things, nobody's perfect. She understands my weak spots, I understand her weak spots. And I tell her, I said, we have to amplify our strengths.
Up to you now, ma'am. Tell me. So from the time he saw you and told you you're going to be his wife, how has he kept you falling in love with him? Let's hear it from you.
He has a very gentle spirit.
Oh.
Never flares up, never screams at me. He can get annoyed. I know he's annoyed. And when I was much younger, he gets annoyed, then I get annoyed at the same time. And then that's it. But I told him this morning, I said, we have grown. That when I see that he's getting annoyed, sometimes I'm still stubborn and I'll be like, yeah, he deserved what I said to him. But this morning, he was about to get annoyed and I was stubborn for 1 minute and he was getting annoyed the second time. Then I got up. I'm like, hey, I know I'm pushing my limits. When I see that he's getting annoyed, I am able to overcome my stubbornness and now come and say, hey, I'm sorry. He never pushes me away and say, just get away. I could do that when I was younger. I don't want. Even when you're trying to apologize, resist and say, no, I'm not accepting that. He doesn't do that.
Wow. Wow. That is really interesting, really powerful. You guys both spoke about the fact, especially you, ma'am, that some time ago, he would be upset and you would be upset as well. And we know that sometimes that's the biggest reason for problems. Because nobody wants to acquiesce, nobody wants to bow down, nobody wants to be the first to apologize.
Sorry, yes.
Yes. But there are so many people in this type of situation in the real world. Can you just give a strategy, something that can strengthen them or help them know that it's not saying you're sorry or, putting away your stubbornness doesn't mean that you're weak. Rather, it could be a sign of strength. Can you say something to such a couple? And I would like for both of you to say something. You can speak to either the man or the woman, but something about being the first to put down your hat for the good of your relationship.
Yeah, okay. I'll go first. Over time, my wife knows this, and we talk about this a lot. And I say, we've gone to marriage seminars. We try to get words of wisdom, especially faith-based setups. And somewhere I learned that a lot of times in relationships, we don't compliment our spouses enough. Like when they do things, when they go over the top, you'll nod and, you whisper those things, you whisper. But gosh, if he or she takes a misstep, like she says, oh, I'll be there at 5:00 and is a little late or whatever, those missteps are broadcast from the mountaintop. Again, compliments are whispered, but mistakes are amplified. Magnified. And so when I think I shared this with her, because, nobody's perfect. And what I keep on telling her is that you make me stronger and I make you stronger, meaning I know what your strengths are, you to even get stronger where your strengths are. And when you're weak, it doesn't mean you need to remain weak. You'll get better. If it's not your gifting, you might not get to the top. But that's over time, that's what we preach to one another. And I think it's helped. It's helped a lot. My job is very stressful and lots of times I'm gone. If there's anything I'll do all over again, is my gone. I'm a neonatologist, so I take care of premature babies. And lots of times I'm at the hospital at night. So, and she's retired from her, I'll let her talk about that. But she has more free time than I do. So sometimes she's home and I'm not home. We've worked over that. And I think the past few years, we have a better balance of time, spending time together. And even when I'm not there, she knows I'm there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Along the way, we have had many resources. We belong to, before we joined groups, I read a lot of books. on relationships, on raising kids. Raising kids is a big stressor to marriages. So I read a lot of books. I took advantage of getting information, learning how to raise my kids right, God's way. We prayed through together. And the kids are grown now. Well, he said I'm retired. I had to cut down on my schedule because someone had to raise the kids. He's away at work. I can't be gone either. So things like driving kids to school and helping them with homework, taking them to their activities. I had to do a lot of that. And as time went on, I kept dropping my hours at work until I finally saw that, well, I had to be home for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And even as busy as he was, he filled in a whole lot too. He made sure that he went to all of the activities. Even those ones I would say, oh, I don't want to go, I just want to be home. He will be there, or he will make sure that I drive them or go sit there. My son, or our son, I'm sorry, is a golfer. Dad went to all of his tournaments. My daughter is a swimmer. We went to all of the meets together sometimes. Or he would come from work and I would meet them up there. So
wow. Oh, that is awesome. So what you're saying is togetherness, just doing things together. And being together is a good strategy for a relationship.
Yes. And busyness is not a good reason. You have to work your schedule out so that you do not miss on the kids' lives. The kids grow, now done. But there are things we have poured into them. We've taught them values. We've taught them responsibility. And they're so loving to us. And my son, I would say I was really hard on him, but he just takes care of me.
That is awesome. You know, they say sons are always their mommy's second husbands, and the daughters are always for their daddies. So that is good. That is how it goes. So now the kids are grown. The kids are away. When you started, you used to go on walks in the evenings. How do you spend time together when the kids are not in the house anymore?
I think we have more or less the same passions. We love to travel. And even before they were finally out of the house, anytime I had a conference or anytime I had to be out of town, there was no ifs or buts. We went together. We always went together, and we turned it into like a mini vacation of sorts. So we love to travel. We love to go to events. We love to go to events. She used to love home shows, like new homes, just to see new homes. I didn't really care for that, but she'll drag all of us along. And she would do the same thing for us. Like, she doesn't really like sporting events like, baseball or football, but she'll come with us or come with me just for us to have a good time. So we like to do that. Sometimes we'll do nothing. Sometimes in the morning on the weekend, we'll wake up, we'll go to a park, we'll walk, make our calls, and then she has some errands to run. I'll drive her. We just do things together. It's not so much.
That is awesome. I love that concept of togetherness, just doing things together. That is awesome. Talking about still going along that theme of togetherness. Sometimes we have young couples who are just starting out, and the man loves to exercise. He loves to go to the gym and do all the things they do at the gym. And the woman does not really like that. She does not really like going to the gym or, getting that active and all that. Tell me, from your experience, because you said you like sports, she doesn't, but she would go with you just to be there with you, and you would go with her to the new home shows just to be with her. Can you share a wisdom nugget for people like that, for young people just starting out? One person likes one thing, the other doesn't. how can you grow together just to support each other and to grow your interests together?
Yeah. I think that's a common situation. It's about, give and take. What I'll say is, even as young couples, there's really nothing wrong with you having some time to kind of hang out with your friends, call it male bonding or girls' night out, and that's fine. But you know that the primary situation is for both of you to be together. So along the way, sometimes you take on your spouse's interest just to be together. I won't mention names, but one of our good friends who loved riding bikes, just loved riding bikes with his friends. And the wife then said, I see the glitter in his eyes when he comes back from riding with his friends. So on one hand, I don't want him to be gone, but I don't want to take away the happiness he derives from those excursions. All of a sudden, she said, I won't go with you every time, but sometimes let's just ride together.
Oh, wow.
And I listened to that. I'm like, wow. So things like that, just give and take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, make sacrifices.
Yeah, make sacrifices, give and take. And I think it just comes with growth over time. Anything different?
One thing that has really helped me, and I wish we found this out much earlier, the book that helps you find your spouse's top emotional needs.
Mm.
5 love languages.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had that, and I think there should be a big value on young. Right, there should be premarital counseling before people get into. Once you decide you want to get married to this person, you should get in and start taking marriage counseling courses. Nothing really prepares you for marriage, but if you have someone or a program or a mentor that can coach you and say, these are the things that could stress a marriage. And so being aware, you've heard it, but when you start living together, when you're in close proximity, things start happening. Emotions. Okay. So I said something about, I wish I knew how to understand my husband's emotional needs and be able to pour that so that his tank will be filled, and vice versa. So even now that we know, we still struggle. I'm still stuck. Like, okay, I used to do this for him, but that's really not what he wants, and vice versa. And knowing that my emotional need is quality time, and I have someone who's so busy that time is a challenge. So that is a big stress. The other thing is understanding. Our pastor has helped us so much with this. And even at this point, I had to go and listen to many teachings from our pastor. He does a very good job teaching us about how to manage our emotions. Emotions are a big part of relationships. Even when you are by yourself, you can have raging emotions. And a thought could change the emotion so fast. 1 minute you're happy, you're moving around, then you look at it, or you hear some music that triggers something, or someone walks by that reminds you of something, the emotions will change suddenly. And even without you being aware, you take it out on people around you, and you now become irritable or short-fused. Oh, I do that a whole lot. But now I've sat down and I've listened to a series of how to manage my emotions, that no one can help me with that. I have to do that by myself. So it's I'm not sure, it's not improvement.
Self-help.
Awareness.
Right, self-awareness. Be aware of those emotions, be aware of the triggers, and know how to manage them so that you're not rubbing off to someone else who has no part in getting you into that emotion. So emotions are feelings on the inside
Mm.
that you could either respond positively to or negatively to.
Mm.
So as you learn, you would now you'll be able to catch yourself and say, hey, I'm going in the wrong direction and my spouse does not deserve this, or even the people around me don't deserve this. They had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think just to, piggyback on what you just said, sometimes we'll have a discussion together about an event that happened way back. And usually it evokes not very pleasant memories. And I catch her. I said, look, let's just leave that because that's not going to take us into any happy place. So I tell her that some of those things, you have to nip it in the bud very early on. Oh, this person used to be, I said, yeah, but that's before. Things are better now. Embrace the change, embrace the newness of this person or that person, or even myself. If there are things that she was kind of upset with about me, I said, you're right. I'm not taking that back. But have you seen any changes like in the past few months or past few years? And then she starts thinking and says, you know what? Yeah, he's right. And I said, don't wait for the change to be 100% before you start appreciating, those changes. And the same for me, not just for her. And, by doing so, we're able to just keep things real, keep things sane. Every once in a while, things want to jump out of, what you expect, but we quickly catch ourselves. And that's been very helpful.
I like that because that's a real life example of taking captive any kind of thought that wants to, take you to a wrong place. So I really like that. And that's something that I guess we all have to do, particularly couples, because you'll see change in your partner. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to celebrate. That's what you're saying. Celebrate the small changes.
Right.
That means you have to be really observant, right? Because some people talk about, where I come from, they have a saying that goes, it's the person looking at the wife's face that realizes she's even crying. Mm-hmm. So they think it's a thing of strength to not even look at your wife's face, to not even care about your wife's feelings. But we know that is a wrong thinking. It's a wrong way of thinking. So can you speak, sir, can you speak to a man being strong, yet being respectful, tender? That's the word, tender. Being strong, yet being tender. In his tenderness, being strong for his wife, for his family, for the relationship, and things like that.
Yeah. I think one of my mentors when it comes to being a father, being a husband, is my dad, my late dad. I remember him as a very soft-spoken, kind-hearted, but very precise. He wasn't wishy-washy or anything like that. But in his own gentle way, he was very impactful. And I learned from that. And I think my wife, in the past few years, she appreciates that more. I'll give an example. Maybe there's a situation that comes up and we have to decide what we want to do or where we want to go. She wants something different and I want something different. And I'll just, in my mind, say, you know what, it's not that big a deal. So I'll say, you know what, let's do what you want to do. And I don't think she appreciated that way of thinking in the earlier years. But now she's like, oh, so you don't want to? I said, no, I want to. But, I've looked at everything and it's not that, it really isn't that big a deal. Something as simple as if we go out to eat, my wife is very particular about where she sits in the restaurant. And I know everybody knows that. So sometimes we'll get there and she'll ask me, oh, where do you want to sit? I'll look at her and say, just tell me where you want to sit and let's have, So for me, in our earlier years, sometimes when my wife gets upset in our early, first few years, I say, you know what? You are very lucky. You don't have a husband like a dragon that when he speaks, you have flame coming out of his mouth. You have to appreciate. And I think she'll just listen and say, yeah. But I think in the recent years, she's come to appreciate that. I tell her, I say, if we have two opposing thoughts, it's not a deal breaker. Many times you can compromise a little bit and we can still win. It can be a win-win situation. So she's taught me a lot, and I think I've taught her a lot too, and we just kind of grow together.
So is this a mindset that makes a marriage work?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for us too, along the years, we've been very mature about being transparent with one another and minimizing external influences, meaning that, as young couples, sometimes when you're upset, you have a confidant or you have someone who thinks you can bounce things on. I think even when we were young and naive, we never were wild with the choice of the person we talk to. Our families have been very respectful of our space. So I think we've been very fortunate on both sides, right, to limit external influences in our marriage.
I think that is one of the most difficult things we find with people trying to get married, getting married, especially the women, because it's always very difficult to think that your mom is now an external person. Your mom is now someone outside of this union. And that's always a difficult thing to change in the mind. But that is so true, what you've said, that you have to limit those influences so that you can build your home.
Live and cleave. Live and cleave.
Live and cleave, yeah. That's it. You have to leave your parents. So for a young couple out there, newly married, a young couple hoping to get married really soon, they're already in a relationship, just in your way, just speak to them about things they should do to guard against divorce, but beyond guarding against divorce, to enjoy their marriage, strengthen their marriage, and just keep moving towards a brighter future together.
Yeah, for both of us, I think Christian fellowship and the Christian principles in marriage is very important. That might not have been what brought you together, but that's going to be a good template to follow as, your marriage develops. As my wife said, love languages. Learn your spouse's love language. That's number one. And then learn what kind of a person your spouse is. And what I mean is that the things that make her tick, the things that stress her, and the things, just really apart from the attraction. Because as I tell young people, there are storms of life, and marriages are not immune from the storms of life. And the marriages that we look at that are 40 years, 50 years, they are not marriages that didn't have any storms, but they're marriages that those storms somehow, with God on their side and with them leaning on one another, they've weathered that storm. It's not something one can do by oneself. Commitment is very important, but for a young couple, commitment is a big term. They don't even understand what that means. It's just that those days are coming. You have to invest in that union, in that entity called marriage. It takes investment. And there's nothing like 50-50. Or what they hear on the radio, no, there's nothing. It's never, if you're waiting for 50-50, it's already lost. You've already lost that game. You give mutual respect and mutual regard for one another. And, invite God into your marriage. And that marriage has a good chance, not just of bearing, not just of managing, but blossoming. And you guys are being fruitful as well.
Yes. Okay, the last thing I'd like to say is the marriage vows. There was a solid marriage vow which the husband and the wife pledged, for better, for worse, I choose you, I forsake all other, in sickness and health, in richness and in poverty. People have messed up the marriage vows. People will write their own stuff like, hey, I looked into his eyes and I just knew, and I came home and dinner was ready for him. That would not see you through because you're already leaving allowance for, hey, people even talk about open marriages now. You want to get married, but the husband wants to have other girlfriends, the man also, the wife also wants. That doesn't make any sense. So they want a marriage, but they don't want to forsake others. And commitments, they just don't want to do it. And every little thing is a reason to want to divorce or separate. Our own community is not involved in it where you want to make a premarital vows and premarital arrangements. What is it called?
Oh, prenuptial.
Prenuptial. I knew that wasn't sounding right. So that is already setting up for failure. That if it doesn't really work, hey, you can take my stuff and I can take yours. We have grown together. Everything we own is joint. So there are no lines like this is mine, this is yours. Everything is joint.
I want you, sir, to say something to her. Just say something to her. Just say something to her. Just your thoughts towards her. And when he's done, you will say the same thing to him.
Yeah, well, my darling, just like you mentioned years ago when I said, I'm going to marry you. That was 30-something years ago. And like old wine, you just keep getting better. So thank you for everything you've done for me and for our children and for our family. You are a jewel of esteemed value. And I keep on saying it, but I don't say it enough. But thank you. I love you.
Aww. Now you have to say something back to him.
Maybe much shorter, but I just love to be around him all the time. He's very patient with me, very tolerant, he's always looking to do one thing or another for me. And he does things, he brings me gifts. He comes in, he always has something for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I brought it. Sometimes the last one he brought was 2 tangerines. Here, I brought this for you.
Oh, so I hope the young men are learning a lesson from this. 2 tangerines is not too small. Just bring something. Let her know you're thinking about her.
He knows I don't care about roses, so bring something that I like. He knows what I like. I used to love cakes. He brings me cakes, but now we know better. As we get older, we can't be eating all of that. My son,
instead of cakes, you get tangerines.
All right.
But Seyi, I know it's her turn. With everything she said, she's told me time and time again that her love language is quality time. You know about the love languages. You're an expert on that. Mm-hmm. So sometimes she'll be in the kitchen trying to get food. And I'm like, oh, she told me she wants her laundry done in the morning. So I'll run to the laundry place. She said, where are you? Where are you? I said, well, didn't you say you want? He said, no, leave all that and just stay in the kitchen. Well, let's just be together. So over time, I've had to change my focus. And she still reminds me, say, no, don't worry about all those things. Just let's be here together.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much. Beautiful mindset. Beautiful mindset. Marriage is God's institution. It's actually the first institution that he created. So all we do is water the ground to make sure that, it's fertile for things to grow and produce, but as with all things, we sow the seed and God gives the increase. I thank you very much for making time to be on this interview today. Thank you so very much. Dr. and Mrs. Aderi-Bigbe, appreciate you so much. Thank you. Have a good evening, and we will be back again. And there we have it, y'all. Always a beautiful time of inspiration and learning when we do these interviews. Couple of nuggets for my love and marriage hopefuls. There really is a benefit to doing the research and finding out some information about someone you might be interested in. You know, when you do some research, you might find things that truly endear the person to you or not. If it's things that don't endear you, then you don't waste your time. But if it's things that endear you more, then it gives you the extra impetus. It gives you that extra oomph to go forth and woo the lady in question. Now, there's also power in the fact that he addressed her by name. Not only did he address her by name, but he also mentioned someone else, her brother, that is very dear to her heart. And so we see how that is a winning strategy. 35 years and counting, they're still happily married. So let's work with that nugget, love and marriage hopefuls. Do some research before you approach someone you're interested in. Try to address them by name the first time you talk to them. And also see if you can address or touch something that's close to their heart. Think it's a winning strategy. Let me know how it works out for you. And for those in marriages already, couple of things to keep in mind. Gift giving is always a winning strategy. Now, giving gifts doesn't mean something big and something pricey. He came home the other day with 2 tangerines, and she knows he's always going to come home with something for her. And so what he's telling her is, I've been gone all day, but I thought about you. I've been gone all day, but you were close to my heart. Men, let's try that. Women, you know, I like what she said. One day she was pushing his buttons, but she got to the point where she knew, this is it. I'm not going to push it any more than that. In a marriage, we're not trying to test each other or trying to see how bad the other person can get. We're trying to inspire each other to good works and to good deeds and to grow in love. And so in as much as every now and then we may push buttons, let's know when to stop. It's about respect. The other thing that they talked about that I really like was prioritizing time together. And so she would, even though she doesn't like sporting activities that much, she would always go with him because he likes it. Even though he is not as interested in shopping and going around the place, he would go with her just to spend time with her. Couples, let's work on prioritizing time with each other. We have a gift to each other, so let's spend time growing together, loving each other more and more, thanking God for each and every day that we have. You know, on this platform, our only goal is to celebrate thriving marriages, celebrate the journey, and inspire others to healthy, thriving relationships. Join hands with us. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. And if you have subscribed, share the word, spread it to your friends. Marriage is work, God is love, and He wants us to be in relationships that are thriving. Let's learn from others who are doing it so that we can enrich our own relationships. Until I see us all, the good Lord bless and keep us all. And here is to happy, healthy, thriving relationships.